Welcome everyone to Westwood Lakes. Now today I've been asked a lot about how I go practicing and what I look for and trying to, like, when I'm coming to a certain match and scenario. So I couldn't think of anything more perfect than coming today, and we're gonna have a little practice for fish-o. Now we're on the Falcon Lake, which the finals on, and we're sat on peg 32. So first of all, it may look like I've got a lot of bait, but I'm going to go through my baits and then I'm going to talk about what I'm trying to achieve and like eliminate and see what I'm trying to go through. So for me, snake lake fishing couldn't be any simpler. There's only a few areas where you want to really fish. It's either in your edges, across, or down the middle. Now don't get me wrong, a short line can come into it as well, but I just class that as down the middle. So what I'm looking for to say is for my down the middle fishing, where you're going to be fishing on the bottom or shallow, there's only two baits I'm really looking at. Is either some maggots, so I've just got some red and white ones there, or some casters. Now with these two baits, they act very differently. I feel like if the fishing going to be a lot harder, there's not as many fish in your peg, maggots can be a lot better, but sometimes the fish, this time of year especially, you can get that in tune with casters. It's nigh impossible to beat them. So I want to make sure I'm fishing the right baits in the right area. Now you may have seen, yes, you pleasure fishing and it is going to be really good fishing. There's not a match scenario, so you won't get a true reading, but you could, honestly, you won't believe the difference of just changing your bait can make if the fish want to eat that certain bait a little bit better. So that's me like middle approach. Now you heard me talk then about the edges and across. So how I'm going to go about that, it's quite, we'll go on to rigs in a minute, but it's not too shallow, but it's not too deep, if that makes sense. So it's like, it's a bit in between the both. So I want to make sure whether I need to attract loads of fish in, so I've just got some ground bait, whether the fish want less particles and a bit of cloud. And then if the fish want particles and they're going a bit daft on ground bait, I've got some fishery micro pellets. And then for the hook bait, I've got some expanders, just Des Shipp ones, 4 mils, just in there. And I've got some worms as well for the hook, but also I can use some maggots for the hook, so they can like versatile my rigs for my edge and my across fishing. So what I'm looking to achieve is to try and work out whether I need to feed micros, ground bait to draw some fish in, or at certain points which is better, or what can happen is I can do a bit of best of both worlds. I can add some ground bait and micros into my ground bait and see if that's better as well. So you heard me talk about the area, so I'm just going to go through my rig. So first of all, I'm going to start off with my edge and sort of a cross rig. Now we're not going to be fishing across today because it's a little bit gusty, so I don't really want to be making a mess of my pole. It's a little bit too far to fish, so we'll have to have another day with that. But this is the sort of rig you'll need for your crossing down your edge fishing. So I've got short kits, which is a must on this venue. It's quite narrow, it's only 13-14 meters wide. Last thing you want is like that extra piece of your long top kit. When the fish are coming up, you want them to come up around this area, nice and close to yourself, and that short kit allows it. Nice short little 2.5 meter landing at handle. I can just scoop the fish, just makes it so much easier for yourself. Now elastics on the bottom are just going to be nice and positive. It's really soft, but it just doesn't let the fish go off too much. You're not putting too much pressure on the hook, I don't think. I've got a 13-inch jaw slip, so a nice 13-inch jaw slip for a short kit. That's my elastic for all my bottom fishing. Now, mainline 017, nice and robust, standard stuff for summer. Now the float's really important. You may think, well, why haven't you got an F1 pellet if you're fishing down the edge, or why haven't you got a big edge float on? For this sort of fishing, you want a little carp, shallow, 4x14. Now the weight of the float's really important. If you had a 4x10, the float's going to take too long to settle. Now I've done a lot of fishing here at Westwood in the past on festivals and stuff, and the fish are quite aggressive when they come into your peg, so they come in your peg quite fast. So you need to be quite proactive of putting your rig in and getting everything set before them fish turn up, and you only get like 10 to 15 seconds. So this rig just mimics that. It's got a bolt down, and then literally I've cut down the pre-tied hook length to 3" of 013 and 16 GPM, so I can put me worm on, me expander pellet, or 2 or 3 maggots if I need to. I have got some corn in the bag as well, but I'll probably try that later on, but it's not on my side tray yet. So that's me edge rig and me say a cross sort of rig. Nice positive, no messing around, all bulked down, getting down to there. Now, you heard me speak about down the middle. Now, Westwood's a bit of a crazy place. You can go from peg to peg, the depth can change. Now, I've been on pegs before where it's like 4 foot deep down the middle, 4.5 foot deep. I've been on where it's 18 inches deep, and today it's probably, that's using the markers on my top kit, it is literally 2.5 foot deep. So it's not too bad for here. I know people can get a bit of a headache coming, but it is what it is. That's how deep it is. Now, one thing you might notice, I've got 13 jaw again, but one thing you might notice on this rig, I've got quite a long line. Now, this is the reason I've learned in the past is if the fish start digging up the silt, your peg might go a little bit deeper. So it just gives me that little bit of an edge of moving the float and not having wrecking my rig. Now, I don't mind having a bit of line. The fish, I'll put a few back shot on there in a minute and I'll be able to control it still, but I've still got that length of line in case they're digging my peg out. It might be a go a little bit deeper there. Now, for me bottom fishing, quite simple. It's 2.5 foot deep, so I've just got a 4x12 F1 maggot. You could have a 4x10, but the same aspect of the edge is I'm not trying to catch them willy-nilly falling through the water nice and slow. It's summertime. The fish are either going to be eating on the bottom or eating shallow, so I want to be either in them places. So my shotting pattern is just a nice short inch apart, dead positive there of number 10s. So it's inch apart, a little strung bulk up there, and on this one, because it's a little bit deeper, I've just got a 4-inch hook length, just to looks in proportion and just makes sure my shot's not too close to my hook to give it time to settle. So that's me bottom fishing. So nice little 4x12. If it was a little bit deeper or a little bit windy, I won't be bothered to go up to a 4x14, or even if it's a little bit deeper as well, a 4x16, just to keep that rig still. You're fishing on the bottom, that's where you want to be. You don't really want to be messing around with like small floats going through the water, this style of fishing anyway. And then onto my shallow rig. Now these can be quite tricky to catch here at Westwood Shallow. They sit very high, say like from 6 to 12 inch deep. So trying to catch them is going to be a tricky old game, but we'll give it a go. My rig, you got a few aspects of your rig to try and catch them. So on this one, I've just got a shallow kit, little ghost one, or grey one. Got my markings on, that's really important as well. So when I pull my pole down, I know I can think, right, that's just under 12 inch there. I can pull it down. If I need to go to 6 inch, I can do as well. I can just pull it down. Try not to pull my rubber off. If I can pull it down, go straight to 6 inch there and fishing straight away at that, I can be in the right depth at the right time that I need to be without second guessing myself. So that's one really important tip with your sort of Snake Lake F1 fishing as well. Also as well, because it's quite bright today, and keeping your little hookups, keeping your elastic in your pole just saves that a little bit longer. So them hookups are important as well. I always speak about them with F1 fishing. They're a little gem on your top kit, just keep them nice and still, and you can store them away and keep your rigs for the next time you go out as well. Now, with my elastic, I've gone a bit softer with this one. I like a lot of hollows when I'm fishing for like these sort of fish, so I've just got a 10s hollow there, really soft. So when I hook them fish, because they're so close to the surface, I don't want really a heavy elastic and bringing them fish up and causing really disturbance in the peg. Just want to hook them, let them drift out the peg, and maybe feed over the top again. Now, back shot can be really important. It's a bit windy still, trying to keep that rig still. So I've just got 2 on there. I can move and manipulate them how I need to. And then I've just literally got a 4x8 F1 shallow. Now, I want minimal shot down the line. I want the little shot as I can take, so it gives that nice slow fall. I'm trying to keep that caster or maggot in that layers as long as I can, to going through the water, trying to catch them clever F1s that sit high up. It's like I said, my shotting pattern there, I've just got number 11s. I've got 3 number 11s. I can move them around if I need to. If I find the right depth though, I'm not going to be scared to pull them straight down to where I need to be and fish that way. Now, on this one, I've just got a 2-inch hook length. This just allows me shot nice and close to the hook when shallow fishing, to give you them bites and indications. And that's 013, 60 GPM high this time. And a little medium bait band on there to either, I've got at the minute just for tri-caster, but if I need to, I can swap that for a 2-inch GPM, double maggot if I need to, if I feel like maggot's better on the option. So they're my rigs and my bait. So bait's a process of elimination, what's better, what works best. Rigs are quite simple, just doing what I'm needing to do, but one thing that's really important as well is feed size, so your pot size. So what I'm probably looking for is my micro pellet fishing is going to be fishing either a small Preston pot, or that's a cut down one, so I just cut the blue off them, just gives me different volumes of bait. So when I put them in there, as you can see, I'll be able to put that, and then when you think that's that size, just a different volume of bait to see which is better. But with ground bait, if you start feeding that, you can get away with a lot heavier pots sizes, so I can use the large or the cut down large. I can just manipulate what I need to do, fill it up, keep going with that. But one thing that's really important as well is having a cupping kit. So making sure your bait's fed all the time. Say if I need to, say if I go on my shallow line or my middle line, down the middle, I'm not just leaving my edge, I'm going to constantly feeding it, trying to build that pot up. So when I'm feeding my ground bait, I'm going to fill it up. Now the beauty about these pots is they've got some slits on the back, so I can push it in. So you know when you're shipping out, you're not going to be too worried about bouncing your bait out, and it comes out in a nice little form like that. So when it hits the bottom, it just breaks up and it's nice and perfect on the bottom. If you put it in loose and you're going out, you see how much it's shaking now. I don't really want to spill it everywhere, but that's a little tip as well. Just make sure these ones have got your slits in. So when I put them on the water, like so, put it on you'll see when we get feeding, put it on the water can get from the back of the pot and push all the bait out. So that's really important on your cupping kit, and then they're your pot sizes to go with as well. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Obviously I'm going to get fishing now, see what's best. Now we're learning, but we'll come back to you when we've been catching a few fish and learning a few things. Right, so we just started the little session now, and what I wanted to do is I just wanted to make sure a little go down the middle. So I wanted to make sure I knew what the right bait was, what's going on. So we've had a few already. It's a nice F1, I think. There we go. Yeah, lovely F1, that one. Now, one thing I've already found is that long line is just a little bit difficult in this crosswind. Now the wind's coming. I'll just try and hold him up. The wind's coming like off my shoulder, so when I'm holding my pole, my rig's moving a little bit. So what I might have to do in a minute is just shorten. Okay. Nice hold him up, nice F1. Not a bad one. But all I mind to do is just shorten my rig down a little bit. Just so it gives me the option of just holding it nice and still. That back shot is just a little bit too much line at the minute, but like now it'd be fine, but it's a little bit gusty, just might move my rig. So what I've been doing is I've been throwing some casters down the middle. Now, because of the depth, yes, you probably will catch a few shallow in that, but I'm trying to see if I can get away with fishing on the bottom. So what I'm trying to do is trying to achieve that. So one thing I've been trying is nice big bit of worm on the bottom, so a nice visual bait. So I'm just going to pinch probably like an inch off the end. You can see it's like quite a nice big bit of worm that. It's not probably like 2 inches long. And what I'm trying to make sure I'm doing is I'm not feeding too regular. So what I mean by that is because I'm fishing on the bottom. There's one straight away on the way down. That's foul like that, definitely. Yeah. Let him swim off. Yeah, foul up. So what I'm trying to do is trying to eliminate me activity of feed going for the pegs. That brings the fish off the bottom. So I'm just trying to feed 2 hits and then stay still. So what I'm trying to do, plonk my rig in. See where now that rig's moving a lot. Just because of that wind, drop it in. Now, normally it'd be like feeding over the top now, but I'm just going to sit there and let him find my bait. I'm not going to try and force it, not going to try and move it. See, straight away there. So now, what I'm thinking is, big handful of casters. Get a big 30 casters in the peg. And that's it now. I'm not going to creating loads of noise. Now, one thing I know about Westwood is the fish respond to noise. So if I threw some bait down the edge there, right, and they'd be there in seconds, there's that many fish in this place, they're always in your peg. So I'm just trying to achieve, there you go, nice fish that. Just trying to achieve what best way is to do that now. Nice big worm in his mouth. Now, because of the silt and the way it is, I feel like you need a big target hook bait, so that or a few maggots or a few casters on a hook would be ideal. So I'm just going to go back out, make sure I flip my rig in like that, throw some casters down the middle. Now I'm not going to feed again now, so I'm just going to stop, just not make any noise. I get a little sign, just lift it slowly. You are going to get signs because there's a lot of fish in this venue. It's never just going to sit there and go under. You are going to get a few missed bites and a few foul lookers, but just vary your feeding for that. So what you can see now, normally with shallow fishing I'd be want to throw again now, but if I start doing that, it's creating loads and loads of noise. And what I'm trying to do is just keep them pinned on the bottom. I'm not trying to let them move around, let them find there's fish there, they're fizzing up, moving the sill. That's why I got the longer line. So like give this like 5 or 10 minutes. I know I've caught a few fish in it now. I've probably caught like 8 fish in it. Sign them. So they're going to be in your peg. They're in your peg mainly all the time. It's just you don't want to be. I'm trying to fish from on the bottom, so there's a patch of bubbles around my float now. So what? There you go. There's a bite. Let's foul up that one. It's a big carp that. Now what it can be with foul looking is you just can't see your bait. So this is what I want to try now. Next chuck, if I lose this fish, I don't mind foul looking. Just take your time with them. I'm going to try some maggots on the hook. This is what I mean by like, just because you're pleasure fishing doesn't mean you can't learn anything. It's just process of elimination. So like, keep it nice and still, keep it low down. Knock my coffee over, don't want to be doing that. Keep it low. Don't want to be moving it around. If it comes off, it comes off, but so you just want to try and. Another little way I can try and do this is because it's so shallow, 2.5 foot, I might be able just to get away with just feeding one hit and just waiting, but we haven't had any problems. First of all, I put maggots on to start with. Ooh, getting a bit erratic now. Put maggots on to start with is really good, and then one thing is I've got to check that depth again. So what I might do is I might go out there, check the depth, see if I'm in the right place. If not, I'm going to plumb back up properly, put 2 maggots on, just check my rig all the time. It's foul at this one. Big carp as well. Nice carp. But it's giving me a peg chance to settle down. I'm not putting loads and loads of bait in. Right in the tail, that one. The water's so green, murky, but just try and keep him up. Thing with these foul, because just keep everything low. Don't want to be, if it does come off, it's not going to trash your rig. I know people can get a lot impatient, but it's a nice carp. Shame it wasn't in the mouth, because it's a nice fish that. Yep, right in the tail. So what I'm going to do, nice carp, Can't really hold him up because I didn't catch him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally take that worm off. Where's my plummet gone? There. Just have a quick little look. See what we're doing. Make sure on our head. Make sure. See, it's moved a little bit now. Only an inch or so. But that could have made the difference of not catching one and catching one. So just move it around, that's it. That's it. Just move back shot, just make sure. There you go. Right, so we know we're on the bottom now, so what I'm going to do, slip 3 maggots on. Just create a nice big standout bait. Actually a little tip I learnt off my good mate Andy Bennett, so I can't really take much credit for that, but it can be a brilliant hook bait. So I'm just going to pouch a few casters over the top, try and keep them nice and tight. See, that was a fish shallow then because the floats moved sideways, so. And again. So if you're getting loads and loads of sign shallot, always have a go. You can have a go, but the way I'm trying to feed at the minute, I'm trying to feed less often but more, just to keep them on the bottom. And because of the depth, we be able to get away with that. Ooh, that was a foul. No. So just because I don't know what he's eating, I'm just going to feed once over the top of my float. Just that first like 5 or 6 seconds of, there you go, that can cause that to happen. That crash of the bait going in can just cause them fish to just go and have a look on the bottom. See that? Look, if you can see that there now, it's like a jacuzzi out there. But I'm not letting that bother me because I feel like just if you can just have a nice visual hook bait, you can catch him. Now if this is in the mouth, I feel like it is. I'll be jinxed myself now and it'll come off, but no, it's a nice fish in the mouth. So see that there? That's a little thing I've learned now. If I feel like if I'm looking and I don't feel like I'm on the bottom, just spend 30 seconds, change your hook bait. So I know that's a good hook bait now. I know that's a good hook bait. I know that's a good hook bait, but swapping between the two. But it's that plumbing up sort of thing. So that little scenario of me having that little bit longer rick is just allowing me to change it up and move it around. So we'll have a little go again, just one last go. Put the maggots on again. Make sure your hook point's exposed. That's the key as well. But that's one little thing I've learned now. So I think, right, we'll keep a little bit of a longer lash or a couple of rigs set up. So I'm going to drop my rig in. Feed twice, quite a big volume. Is that in the mouth? The one thing, yeah, it's in the mouth that. And one thing, you see how quick you can do it now, put the fish they're eating on the bottom of that there. So there's a little patterns and trends now of going through. So what I'll do now is I'll start to feed a little bit different. I know I've had probably like 20 minutes, half an hour fishing like I have now, so I'm getting used to like that's how I'm going to catch him. So I'm just going to see what happens if I put a worm on and feed more regular. If I start to feed more regular, I'm going to get more signs. So that's what I'm probably going to try and do the next little stint of it. Now maybe we'll catch a few shallow if I start feeding regular but less bait, and then obviously we'll have a look in the edge and see how we get on with that.
Hi guys, sorry to interrupt this video. It's just a reminder to make sure you like the video, subscribe to Preston Innovations YouTube channel, and make sure you hit the notification bell to make sure you never miss another upload.
Right, so we've been fishing for a little bit now and we've learned a few things. So we've learned casters is miles better than maggots on the bottom. Maggots, we've loose fed them. It was a pain, it was just foul up fish, couldn't settle anything to the bottom that well. As where casters, you can put a few casters together. You need to feed with a cat hook because the wind's really bad now. You feed nice and aggressive, one hit like that, get some bait to the bottom, and we can just stay there and be clever with it. Now, because I've been messing around, the pegs never got like it was in that first time. The first time we were in a nice little rhythm. We could put a bait in, we could be able to catch one. Now, as the pegs changed, because we've been messing around, chucking around that, there's a big spread of, say, the silt's been ripped up, and it just doesn't seem right again, but it's slowly coming back to the way it was. We're getting that rhythm before, so that's what we're hoping for. But I've learned a lot about it. I've learned what bait to fish, where I need to fish, not worrying about the depth too much, because that's one thing that can worry people coming here, the depth of the lake. There's one. Oh, foul. I think I've lost a shot. I've lost my little trimmer, so I'm just going to put my shot back on. Like I said before, when people come here or practicing, depth is a big thing for catching fish, but on this venue you can have lack of it, you can have a bit deeper. It's just trying to fish to your depth of what you've got. So the last thing I want to do is try and like worry about it's 2.5 foot and try and fish shallow all the time. As I know, I've just literally, I've been fishing and I'm confident I can catch them on the bottom in this depth of water. So because I can confidently do that, I've had to go shallow as well. So if I need to, if there's a lot of fish in my peg and I need to catch shallow, I've learned that feeding less bait, quite regular, moving the rig a lot, moving it up and down, flicking it in, playing around with the shotting patterns, but being confident, because the fish aren't, it's not like a peg, say, where you're going to go and it's 5 foot deep and the fish are going to linger in your peg and then move up and down in the layers. Because it's so shallow, I think they're just coming in and out. So they're like, come from the left, come from the right, come from the back, and you're going to have spells where you get like a group of fish come in and it's really easy to catch them, as where you're going to get spells where you're going to get like 1 or 2 fish, you are going to miss a few bites and you are going to be unable to catch them because they're not in your peg at that certain time. The wind's got a bit bad now. But being nice and patient, keep that down. Just trying to get back into that routine of trying to catch them again. But what we're going to do is, we've learned a lot about that now. So erratic and scatty because of the depth of the water. In the mouth, I think. But we've learned about the middle. That's what one thing that's in the mouth, that one. That's a nice F1 to finish on for down the middle. So what we're going to do now is I need to spend a little bit of time looking at what we can do in the edge. But that's a nice F1 to finish on that, down the middle. Big worm there, you can see it out of its mouth. Big worm hanging out, so it's a big visual hook bait. That's one thing that's quite important. So it's a nice little bit to end on, and we're going to concentrate on what we can catch and trying to work out which is best and what size and how the fish are responding in the edge. Sound right. Right, so we're just going to start on the edge now. Now, one thing I've noticed is when I've been plumbing up, I can't find any real shallow water, and where it is there's some close to me here or here, but the bank's collapsed, so there's a bit of movement under the water and it's not brilliant. So I don't think fishing pellets, probably pleasure fishing now, is going to be brilliant, but I'm still going to keep an open mind with it. So there's a few aspects I'm looking for. Is how quickly the fish come in the peg and how I put my bait in the peg. So I can get my rig in there nice and simple, nice and clean. The baits come out the pot nice. It's just nice and easy to try and get into the peg. That's one thing that I will stress. Say like you're fishing, don't try and make it hard for yourself. Now, if I was to come here, the bottom's horrible, so I won't be able to get my rig in. And that there is not, and that was how quick it can be on pellets. Hopefully he's in the mouth. He should be for the first one, but Probably going to jinx myself. Yeah. Now this is the ideal fish we're looking to catch on this. So we're going to have a little go on this. I'm confident of, I've been fishing a few matches. And I'm confident this is the good way to start, but they're the standard, look, they're on camera. They're the standard F1s we're looking to catch, and that's how quick you can catch them. Now that's just literally, we finished fishing out there, we've gone in there, and that's how good it's been. Now, one thing I will say is, it's the same as I said when I was fishing on that other line. But when I'm fishing that line, I'm always just going to stop a little bit, feed my other line, make sure I'm keeping the bait going in, and keeping that. Now, one thing I want is nice soft micro, so they melt out the pot dead easy. So what we're looking for is either what volume of bait to fish, but also getting my rigging quickly. So it's like 1, 2, 3, all my baits fell out, 1, 2, 3, 4. See that there's a fish caught on rig then. So that's a fish in the peg. So already I'm thinking I need to maybe cut my feed down if that keeps happening, because it's slowed me down getting my rig in my peg. I've got the right rig on, I've got a 4x14, I've got a nice heavy rig, bulk down, trying to get this bait to the bottom quickly. Now, if someone's going to slow me down and then fish come in a little bit quicker than they have done, I'm going to miss bites, I'm just going to get myself into a tiz. So there's a sign there straight away. Oh. So with that, just a little sign. I'm going to put my rig straight back in, probably count to like 30 seconds in my head, and then I'm going to, let's see how quick you can get one. Count to 30 seconds in my head and I'll come back and start it again. So this is a lot better than it would be, caught on the little hump there. Be a lot better than it would be trying to fish here on this horrible bottom and your bait will be wafting in. We've just got a nice little flat area there. Yes, it's deep, but it's a nice carp, I think. That's nice. Nice surprise. Now, one thing is quite simple in the edge is I'm either going to fish pellets or maggots and ground bait. Now, well, obviously I'll run through maggots and ground bait in a minute. I just wanted to show you what I'm looking for with pellets. The aspect of it. Getting a bit blustery now. What size pots, so it's crazy. The size of the pots you're going to be using for this sort of fishing is like a small or a cut down small. Now with them cut down smalls, just literally take the blue off. That's a nice size carp, that. This is what like that last 2 hours you're hoping for. I'll try and hold him up, he's a bit lively. Just try and get the hook out of him. These start to turn up, these 2, 3, 4 pound carp, then you're going to be in real contention if you start plonking them in. I'll try and hold him. I think he's a bit lively, just nice carp. Don't want to make him more stressed out. So let's have one little more go on that, but you see what I've found as well, a little bit deeper, a little bit more bait's better. Not always the case. If it's shallower, a little bit less bait, but with the depth, trying to hold fish in that area and force them down. Now the only thing you can do that by is obviously feeding. So what I'm going to do is get to my mark there. 1, 2, 3. Baits fell out. 1, 2, 3. Drop my rig in, hold it still, looking for signs. Now any sign, as soon as that rig sits still, I'm expecting a bite. That's the way it is at this venue. Oh, that's a liner. Just make sure you don't strike at the wrong bites as well. Just lift him up, drop him back in, that was a bite. So there now I'm thinking, right, 30 seconds and then I'm going to refeed again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm not going to count all the way to 30, but that's what I'm looking for. That sort of like little mentality. It's all settled down again now. Fish has come in, wafting my bait round. Just going to move my bait back in position. Now if that goes under now, I miss a bite or it moves my rig again, I'm just going to come back and feed. Now I don't know what's there. That's how I like to fish these aggressive venues. There are always fish coming in all the time. You don't see that it's moving my rig now, so I'm just going to come back and feed again. Straight on there. drop it in, let that rig sit nice and quickly. And just set a little trap again, just for any fish that were there. Just gives them a place to home in on. Just that little one. Now what I'm going to do in a minute, I'm going to have one more go on pellets, and I think I need to fish some ground baiting maggots just because it's a little bit too deep for micros, I think. Let's put that in there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Cut that rig. 4. So I'm trying to get my rig set between like 6 and 8 seconds. That just gives me a chance to get a quick bite if I need to. Now, if I was getting signs and missed bites before that, or a lot quicker than that, that's just a little telltale sign, just feed a little bit less bait. There's fish in your peg, a little bit less bait. Say, when the start of the match, that could be a nice little area just to start, just to get a few fish in your peg, and then once you've caught them and you start on your other lines, just get your 100mm pot out, start big potting some ground bait, and then draw the fish, get them used to coming to that area. Get them used to coming to that area. And then it'd be a lot easier to catch than that was a liner. So, like for today, it's probably a little bit too far away to fish. I just want to show you away. So what I'm going to do now is a little bit too deep for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few micros to my ground bait, 2 handfuls, like that. I'm going to put 3 maggots on. That's not right, they're not settling in my peg enough there, so I'm going to put 3 maggots on. Change my pot size and add a bit of water out my micros into my ground bait. Just so it gets a lot heavier, so now you can see that's like a stodgy, heavier mix. It's still got that effect of ground bait, but it's a lot heavier, so I put a larger pot on. Fill them up, and have a go on that, it's a little bit deeper. Obviously, it's a bit of a, in a match scenario, you'd have been priming this and they'd be used to it, but with that I get a little bit more bait, a little bit, maybe pin them down to the bottom a lot easier. It just gives me a little bit of a standout hook bait as well. As well, if them fish were travelling up a little shelf, they'd be able to intercept my pellets a lot easier, but sign then. So we just changed to that ground bait now. It's probably like a bit of an unnatural change, but I just want to see what the reaction is with it. Oh, that was a bite then. Might take a couple of feeds, but like I said, it's a bit in a match scenario. I'd a big potted it a lot more and got fish used to coming in and eating that area, but just because I want to see what it's actually like. Pellets are good for starting, then I think I just can't get a clean bite. There's obviously fish coming into the area. As well, this ground bait now, I've only had 1 feed on it, but I've actually had a bite. I haven't had any movements and signs. Apart from that one then. I actually had a clean bite on it, so. Come back with feed again. Fill my pot up, same again. One, two, three. Same little process. So shove that next to the bank. See, that's a bite straight away then. So just straight away you've had a little, oh, can't let me land in that. And just shows what's more important, just making sure, because we've got that depth of water. Not sure what it is yet. Make sure you got the depth of water. We've got a heavier ground bait, making sure the bait's reacting and what the pot's doing as well. They're angry today, these fish. Take your time then. Ooh, you knocked him off then. So I mean, you got that 13-inch jaw, you think it's a bit too harsh, but it's not for these fish. They're fighting really well at the minute. It's a nice F1. So, a few important things. Just put them back. I'll have one more and then a few important things. Make sure that ground bait is nice and wet. So normally I have a little tub of water and I've just been manipulating it. When I get some fresh ones out of my bucket, when I use it up, just making sure my ground bait now there's a few micros in there because I want to pin some fish onto the bottom. Right, so just going to put 3 maggots on. 3 maggots. Now I like to mix up the colours, sometimes 3 reds, sometimes 2 in a red, sometimes 2 in a white, but the importance is getting that ground bait nice and heavy. So I like to fill it in, push it down, and get to my mark. Don't go too close to the reeds, just there, that'll do there. 1, 2, 3. Bait release is nice, just lift that bulk, manipulate it to do what you want it to do. Fish in there now. Straight away, so it's got a lot cleaner there just by slowing things down. Just by slowing things down, keeping it all nice and neat, understanding what you're doing, it's getting a lot better. So all of a sudden you've seen the pellets is okay, but then obviously it's just a telltale sign that ground bait's bringing them in and they want to eat it. So that's our conclusion of the edge. Pellets could probably be good to start, but I think we need to get onto ground bait as quick as we can so we can catch a load of these, hopefully. But I hope you've learnt a few tips and tricks and enjoyed me having a little practice. I feel like I've learnt a lot just doing this video, so hopefully it all plans in good stead and we catch a load. But thanks for watching.